Yes, I am wearing the same shirt and using the same mug. Sue me. Welcome back to Tea Time with Annika. I totally just spilled hot water all over my feet. It's fine. So today we're taking a look at why study organizations. For the specific course I ended up reading, for those of you who are not in the class again, I read 2 different articles, and I want to mostly comment on the first one, which talks about barriers in the workplace. And it's interesting because I was actually talking about some of these with a guest yesterday when I was bartending. And he was asking me, he was older, he was probably about 60, I want to say, maybe older, maybe I'm being generous. And he asked me while I was making drinks, he's like, would you say that your generation doesn't have the same work ethic, doesn't want to work as hard? And he was just asking me. He wasn't being judgmental. He was literally curious. And it was fascinating because I don't necessarily think that, for one. For two, I think there are a lot of, it's a different generation, it's a different time, everything's different, the organizations are different, and they might not seem different, but there are plenty of different things. For example, added technology. When my dad was younger, they didn't have that technology. My dad is 61. My dad was born in 1960. Like, you don't necessarily have that, and now we do. So it was fascinating to read this article, which states, for example, that email is very commonly used, but it isn't necessarily as effective as it could be. Email would be an older technology generationally. Today, you find people more communicating over text messages that are my generation at the very least, which is, I was born in 99, so I'm like a weird in between millennials and Gen Z is apparently what I am. So you get a different view of that generation. And why should we study organizations? Well, this article talks about it very well, and the fact that we should study them because of communication barriers, for example. We want to know how can we better reach people, because you're not always going to have the same generation as you. Like, as I get older, I'm not going to keep having my generation. I mean, eventually we're going to get old too. So I'm going to start hiring the younger generations who are going to be my niece's age, my kid's age eventually, and they're going to have a different generation than I am, and there's going to be differences, and that is just as important to study for communication as anything else, and that's why you want to study that in organizations. So, let me know your thoughts. It's fascinating. Studying generational stuff is interesting, and especially in the form of organizations. So, comment below.